The animals in the zoo were talking amongst themselves about the recent drought. The cows said they hoped it would rain soon as the fields they grazed in were dry and turning brown. The giraffes said they hoped it rained soon as the leaves on the tops of the trees were sparse. The monkeys hoped it would rain because the branches of the trees were dry and snapping, making it hard for them to swing around. The kangaroo said she hoped it wouldn't rain. When the other animals pressed her as to why not, she replied, "Because then my kids will be inside all weekend." One day a cop pulls a van over, and when he walks up to the window he sees 10 penguins in the back. The cop asks the man, "Are those your penguins?" The man says, "Yes, they are my pets." The cop replies to the man, "You need to take them to the zoo right now." So the man agrees and drives off. The next day the cop pulls over the same van, and he walks up to the window and sees the 10 penguins all wearing sunglasses. The cop says to the man, "I thought I told you to take those penguins to the zoo." The man says, "I did. Today we are going to the beach." This older man was on the operating table awaiting surgery, and he insisted that his son, a renowned surgeon, perform the operation. As he was about to receive the anesthesia, he asked to speak to his son. "Yes, Dad, what is it?" "Don't be nervous, son. Do your best and just remember, if it doesn't go well, if something happens to me, your mother is going to come and live with you and your wife." The Mafia was looking for a new man to make weekly collections from all the private businesses that they were protecting. Feeling the heat from the police force, they decided to use a deaf person for this job, figuring if he were to get caught, he wouldn't be able to communicate to the police what he was doing. In his first week, the deaf collector picks up more than $40,000. He gets greedy, decides to keep the money, and stashes it in a safe place. The Mafia boss soon realizes the collection is late, and sends some of his thugs after the deaf collector. The thugs drag the guy to an interpreter. The right-hand man says to the interpreter, "Ask him where the money is." The interpreter signs, "Where's the money?" The deaf collector signs, "I don't know what you're talking about." The interpreter tells the main man, "He says he doesn't know what you're talking about us." The main man pulls out a .38 and places it in the ear of the deaf collector. "Now ask him where the money is." The interpreter signs, "Where is the money?" The deaf collector signs, "The $40,000 is in a tree stump in Central Park just east of the big fountain." The interpreter's eyes light up, and he says to the thug, "He says he still doesn't know what you're talking about, and doesn't think you have the guts to pull the trigger." A young mom walks her son to the school bus corner on his first day of kindergarten. "Behave, my bubble," she says. "Take good care of yourself and think about your mother, Tatali. And come right back home on the bus, shine kindly. Your mommy loves you a lot, my Quetzali." At the end of the school day the bus comes back and she runs to her son and hugs him. "So what did my pupily learn on his first day of school?" The boy answers, "I learned my name is David." One day Bill complained to his friend that his elbow really hurt. His friend suggested that he go to a computer at the drugstore that can diagnose anything quicker and cheaper than a doctor. Simply put in a sample of your urine and the computer will diagnose your problem and tell you what you can do about it. It only costs $10. Bill figured he had nothing to lose, so he filled a jar with a urine sample and went to the drugstore. Finding the computer, he poured in the sample and deposited the $10. The computer started making some noise and various lights started flashing. After a brief pause, out popped a small slip of paper on which was printed, "You have tennis elbow. Soak your arm in warm water. Avoid heavy lifting. It will be better in 2 weeks." Later that evening, while thinking how amazing this new technology was and how it would change medical science forever, he began to wonder if this machine could be fooled. He mixed together some tap water, a stool sample from his dog and urine samples from his wife and daughter. He went back to the drugstore, located the machine, poured in the sample and deposited the $10. The computer again made the usual noise and printed out the following message: "Your tap water is too hard. Get a water softener. Your dog has worms. Get him vitamins. Your daughter is using cocaine. Put her in a rehabilitation clinic. Your wife is pregnant with twin girls. They aren't yours. Get a lawyer. And if you don't stop jerking off, your tennis elbow will never get better. One day Mr. Johnson was sitting alone in his house when the phone rang. Mr. Johnson answered it. "Who is this?" he asked. "I am the Viper," said the voice on the other line. "I'll be at your house in an hour." Mr. Johnson laughed and hung up the phone. "He's just playing a prank on me," he said, and went back to what he was doing. 15 minutes later, the phone rang again. "Who is this?" asked Mr. Johnson. "I am the Viper," said the voice on the other line. It was the same voice he had heard 15 minutes ago. "I'll be at your house in 45 minutes. Mr. Johnson hung up the phone again and looked at the clock. He noticed that it had been exactly 15 minutes since the last call. This could be a very well-planned prank, he thought. But then again, it could be the real thing. 15 minutes later, the phone rang again. "Who is this?" asked Mr. Johnson. For the third time, the same voice said, "I am the Viper. I'll be at your house in half an hour." This time, when Mr. Johnson hung up the phone, he was feeling very nervous. This situation was seeming less and less like a prank. 15 minutes later, the phone rang again. "Please don't tell me you're the Viper," said Mr. Johnson. "Yes," said the voice. "I am the Viper. I'll be at your house in 15 minutes. Now Mr. Johnson was terrified. After hanging up, he immediately called 911 and said, "I keep getting calls from someone who says he's the Viper and he'll be at my house. I'm worried that it might not be just a prank. Can you come to my house just in case?" 15 minutes later, a knock was heard at Mr. Johnson's door. Mr. Johnson answered it, hoping it was the police and expecting it to be the Viper. But much to his confusion, it turned out to be a little old man. "Who are you?" asked Mr. Johnson. "I am the Viper," replied the man. "I'm here to wash and viper your windows." On the last day of kindergarten, all the children brought presents for their teacher. The florist's son handed the teacher a gift. She shook it, held it up, and said, "I bet I know what it is. It's some flowers." "That's right," shouted the little boy. Then the candy store owner's daughter handed the teacher a gift. She held it up, shook it, and said, "I bet I know what it is. It's a box of candy." "That's right," shouted the little girl. The next gift was from the liquor store owner's son, little Johnny. The teacher held it up and saw that it was leaking. She touched a drop with her finger and tasted it. "Is it wine?" she asked. "No," little Johnny answered. The teacher touched another drop to her tongue. "Is it champagne?" she asked. "No," he answered. Finally, the teacher said, "I give up." "What is it?" little Johnny replied. "A puppy." An old lady goes to the doctor, super irritated. She unloads on the doctor. "Doctor, my friends are all being awful people. They're all telling me I fart all the time, and it's just plain rude of them." "Oh, really?" the doctor says. "Yeah. They're all silent, so I have no idea why they'd point them out. On top of all that, for them to tell me my gas is enough to gag a maggot. How could your friends say that?" "I see," the doctor says. "Yeah. I've even felt a few fly out in the office, and you've not had a single problem in this visit. Here, take these pills, they should help you out," the doctor says. It's been a day now, and the doctor's pensively reviewing some charts, when all of a sudden the old lady busts into practice, shouting at the receptionist for the doctor to see her right away. She says, "Doctor, what the hell have you done with these pills? I'm farting all the time now, and it smells like a landfill." After a deep breath, the doctor says, "Now that your nose is fixed, let's work on your gas and ears." The Boston Zoo had a very large problem. Their most popular attraction, a gorilla named Jamie, had died unexpectedly in the night. Ticket sales were projected to plummet if this gorilla couldn't be seen, so the zoo manager decided to hire a man to dress up in a gorilla costume and pretend to be Jamie. The manager finds a man suitable for the job and tells him, "All you've got to do is swing around and lay down for 12 hours a day. Act just as any gorilla would." The man agrees, puts on the costume, and heads into his enclosure. When the zoo opens, people rush to see the legendary Jamie the gorilla. The man, though nervous at first, starts to walk around like a gorilla normally would. The observers smile at his actions, so he decides to kick it up a notch. The man grabs hold of a vine and begins to swing from one side of his enclosure to the other. The crowd shows admiration, laughing and pointing at his acrobatic skills. The man decides to take things even further and does a back flip off of the vine onto a high tree branch. The crowd erupts with applause, chanting, "Jamie! Jamie! Jamie!" at the top of their lungs. The man decides he will do one final stunt. He climbs up onto the vine and builds up some momentum. However, as he begins to reach a fast speed, his hand slips and he flies over a wall right into the lion enclosure. Panicking, the man begins to scream, "Help me! I'm not actually a gorilla, please someone help!" The lion snarls and pounces on the man and says, "Hey man, shut your mouth or we're both gonna lose our jobs." Little Johnny was in church with his mom for Sunday Mass when he suddenly felt nauseous. "Mom, I think I'm going to throw up," she told him. "I want you to run outside as fast as you can. Run across the lawn and go behind the bushes. You can throw up behind the bushes and nobody will see you." So little Johnny hauled for the door. Less than a minute later, he returned to his seat next to his mom. He had the look of obvious relief on his young face. "Did you make it all the way to the bushes, Johnny?" "I didn't have to go that far, Mom. Just as I got to the front door, I found a box that had a sign on it, for the sick." Teacher: "Why did you laugh?" Boy: "I saw a strap of your brow." Teacher: "Get out. Don't come to class for the next 1 week." Another boy laughs. Teacher: "Why did you laugh?" Boy: "I saw both straps of your brow." Teacher: "Get out. Don't come to class for next 1 month." The teacher bends to pick a chalk and little Johnny starts walking out of the class. Teacher: "Why are you going out?" Johnny: "With what I saw, I think my school days are over." Hey there. I put a lot of effort into making these videos, so please subscribe for more jokes and stay happy. Thank you.